Hi and welcome to the book reading Orgasmic Blueprint, Tools for Pleasure, Desire and Consent for Individual, Couple and Intimacy Professionals. So this is a double reading today. So I will read about empowerment and choice and spiritual development at the apex. I hope you have been enjoy reading so far. Let's go straight in. Empowerment and choice. Empowerment or empowered people empower people. This quote is from somebody unknown. The author of the book The Little Prince once said, "If you want to build a ship, don't drum up people together to collect wood and don't assign them tasks and work, but rather teach them to long for the endless immensity of the sea." So empowerment happens through an individual longing to be completed and is a process of exploring all you need to feel whole while knowing that you have a choice. When it comes to touch, instead of going along with something that feels mediocre, the magic formula is having enough time to notice, trust, value, and communicate your desire when you are in the receiving role. And as the giver, it means being true to your limits while allowing the receiver to let their body find and express desire in the most authentic way for them. The empowerment map. So it's again so hard to see. Apologies for that. It's getting overexposed with a white page. I have not figured that out yet. Anyway, there will be a video in the description below or somewhere here, and please follow that if you want to know what the empowerment and choices map is. Actually a really good map, so please enjoy that. So we often presume that we have to intuitively know what the other person wants, or we do something in order to belong. And one of the biggest aha moments in the giving role as you go into action for them is when you realize you don't have to guess what the other person wants anymore. You don't have to pretend that you know. You don't have to invent anything. This can come as a huge relief and for many people. Wouldn't you agree? With this lack of pressure to second guess also comes the supreme clarity and ability to focus on your own experience. So most of us also presume that when we give something, we do an action, and that giving and doing are conflated and one and the same thing. So what the empowerment and choices map does, it takes the presumption apart. And as you can see below, when we are in the role of the giver, actually the last step of the map is the action. So of course you need the map for that. So step one in there is, as the giver, you allow the receiver to have enough time to feel safe enough to recognize their desire and tune into what they want. And this is a vital process in itself. So when we feel safe and connected, a part of the frontal lobe in the neocortex allows us to notice our desire and make rational choices. We trust that our desires are real when we value them and can communicate them. So the first step is the foundation of empowerment. So you have enough time. Second step is communication. So the receiver notices their desire and bases the request on permission, i.e., can or may I do that, or on an agreement, can or will you do that for me? And this question has literally become the mantra of receiving. Without communication, there is no request and therefore no action. Step three, then the giver goes through the same process. We usually react quite quickly to requests, but as the giver, you also need time to feel safe enough to know what you're willing to. So by noticing, trusting, valuing, and communicating your limits. Step four, the answer could be, yes, I can, or yes, you can. No, you can't. Ask me for something different. Step five, now you find you can slowly relax into giving with presence while fully enjoying whatever you're doing. So you're doing exactly what the other asks you for within your limits. If they want something, oops, sorry, it's just, Okay, there was a mistake happening. I don't know what happens. So what the other ask for you within your limits. If they want something different, they will tell you. You can then reassess your limits if you need. So be at the time. So the receivers step into the place of noticing first, and each person takes responsibility to communicate their desires and limits. So using the map as a tool for expressing their needs. This turns the situation we usually default to around, so that the giver is no longer responsible for what the receiver receives. So on the path of empowerment, choice and communication are more important than the action itself. So when you can ask for what you want, every action is a bonus. So when I'm the receiver, I own my desire without the need or attachment to getting it. I receive that because it's really important. When I'm the receiver, I own my desire without need to attachment to getting it. Even if the other one says no, there's a gratitude to them for knowing and expressing their limits. When I'm the giver, I own my limits, and even if I say no, there's gratitude to the other for owning and expressing their desires. I just had a session this morning with a client, and that was just such an eye-opening for him when I said, just like, you own your desire, and even the other person says no, you have the choice. Either you just drop into your fear of rejection and you play like a little child, or you stay in your desire and say, just like, I totally respect that you don't, that you're not willing to do that, but I still want that. And it's okay to want, and that your wanting is welcome. So, and respect the limits. Anyway, let's continue. So when we rewire the nervous system back to wholeness, we shed man-made structures largely based on rules within social groups and cultures. We satisfy the spiritual longing we all have. We return to our true nature as a state of bliss. So experiencing a state of bliss requires equilibrium of body and mind. The balance of each person's body and mind is influenced by the state of their nervous system. So the Somatic Consent Engagement System shows how to achieve this balance in logical and practical steps. So waking up the hands, re-establish this direct root sensory inflow of your moment-to-moment experience of touch. That was my light saying goodbye. I think I need to plug something in. Okay, let's do that then. Done. So when you're fully aware, and just this little paragraph again. So waking up the hands reestablishes the direct root sensory inflow of your moment-to-moment experience of touch. When you're fully aware of the somatic inflow during touch, you're also aware you're going into action for yourself. And this knowledge develops integrity in your actions. So tuning into the sensory inflow of the direct root calms the nervous system, bringing you into a more relaxed state of being, and increases physical awareness, which rewires your nervous system back to its natural capacity to receive pleasure independently. It enables you to be more aware of your feelings, emotions, needs, desires, boundaries, and shadow strategies, so your survival stuff. It releases oxytocin, which then blocks stress hormones, cortisol, and adrenaline, and increases your ability to feel empathy and bond with others. So the basement awareness of the misalignment of shadow engagement, and this provides the ability to gain deeper knowledge of self by observing which need you're trying to meet with these strategies, what isn't being asked for, and which agreement aren't being made. So the base where you function from the sturdy foundation of being grounded in self, the bridge between your motor and sensory root is activated. You are awake. Know what you have a right to, so your basic needs, and take responsibility for your own self-care, thoughts, feelings, emotions, and actions. And the engagement zones, where you practice authentically communicating what you want and what you don't want. Here you can clearly see who is doing an action and who is that action for. Ask for permission and come to agreements within each person's limits. When a difficulty arises within a relationship, the engagement zone map helps to clarify and provide a quick and effective way of solving miscommunication and blind spots. The combination of the direct route and the clarity of this kind of engagement relaxes the nervous system. The apex, the interpersonal space, and you will see that in the triangle connected into the pyramid. So this is the first one is the base, and then you have the engagement zone, and then the apex. The interpersonal state, a state of pure being where you do something to or for others from an altruistic place of love and care. Integrity is in place due to self-knowledge, self-responsibility, and honest engagement. So there's generosity because you feel abundant. And there's deep gratitude for self and the others as you feel the gift of who you are as you are, and who the other is and as they are. There's no agenda or any urge to do something in order to be accepted or to belong. Here the nervous system is in a relaxed state of social engagement with the other person. When in this state, connected, intimate state, we are able to surrender to something bigger than our identity of separative individually ego and experience emerging with the other in oneness and bliss. And above the apex, the transpersonal state, is the realm of further merging beyond the experience of interconnection with your loved one, that of an unlimited connection with the rest of life. So this is often referred as nirvana or samadhi of enlightenment, a complex spiritual awakening, as we fully realize, not just grasp a concept with the mind, but experience being source consciousness. Okay.
I'm so excited to take a moment and share with you my de-armoring and sexual empowerment coaching certification. This program has been around for almost 10 years and is my highest offering. Sexual wellness is forecasted to be a $125 billion industry by 2026. Why? Because Tantra is booming like yoga 20 years ago, and people are more ready than ever to express their sexuality, build deeply connected relationships, and have the most outrageous orgasms and erotic experience of their lives. However, most people are never taught how to do any of this, how to have extraordinary relationships and the sex that they really crave. They're looking for qualified, confident professionals to teach them. So my de-armoring and sexual empowerment coaching certification is a powerful 1-year professional program that helps many coaches become incredibly successful and highly paid professionals. This program doesn't just train you in every aspect of the coaching process so that you can build a successful online business. This coaching also walks you through the personal transformation of a lifetime, because the best coaches have done their work themselves. And on top, I show you all the tech secrets how to create a thriving online business. But first and foremost, you'll discover transformative techniques like the empowerment tools, meditation practices, and pleasuring pathway that you'll apply to your own life first. Then you use all the same proven tools and techniques to get laser-focused results for your clients. We also hold an exclusive de-armoring training just for our coaching students and alumni every year. In this training, you'll experience a 10-day of live teaching with other teachers and me, refining your skills as a de-armoring and sexual empowerment coach. So, if you feel the call to claim your spot in this multi-billion-dollar industry and transform not only your own life, but the life of many others around the world, get on the waiting list now at somaticarrows.com/empowerment coaching, and I love to see you there and welcome you.
All right, welcome back. So the invitation is to reach out and book a discovery call if you want to. Anyway, this is a spiritual journey that's not only to learn to touch, it just like changes your life. So welcome. So next subchapter is the Om and spiritual connection at the apex. I am the medium, the channel, and I cannot become the channel unless my surrender is complete. That's a quote from Paramahansa Satyananda. The dynamics within the Somatic Consent Engagement System can be seen within the symbolism and structure of the spiritual sign, the Om, so that we can interpret the symbol as a similar developmental map. Here it is again. It's very, again, hard to see. Now you can see it. Okay, so that's the pyramid and the Om sign and how they are connected. Because that was my spiritual journey. And if you want to have a similar experience about your own journey, then feel totally free to dive. All right, let's start again. The basement, the upper curve, represents, in the Om sign, represent deep sleep, living in the illusion of shadow strategies where we are unaware and function automatically. And then the base, the lower curve, shows self-responsibility for self-care, where the bridge of awareness between the sensory and the motor root provides a foundation for choice. So, okay, there was something off here. I just need to make sure that I don't touch my microphone. Again, I'll just read the base again. The base, so the lower curve, shows self-responsibility for self-care, where the bridge of awareness between the sensory and motor root provides a foundation for choice. Then the engagement zone curve to the right represents the permission and agreement you make with those you relate with. The apex, the curve on top, represents pure interpersonal transformation. And the transpersonal space above the pyramid structure, or the bindu, the dot on top of the Om sign, represents source consciousness, the void, where we don't identify with the individual sense of self, but with pure spiritual shared consciousness. So when we embody the three dynamics of the Om symbol, making a solid base of self-care, being aware of our shadows, and developing truthful communication within the engagement zones, we can transcend the sleeping state illusion of separation, called Maya in the Sanskrit, if you're interested in that. Here we access interpersonal connection and dissolve into oneness with the other. And this is the apex, the interpersonal space of play, where with the other, where lovemaking is happening. So we go more in the book Orgasmic Blueprint. So this is all a build up if you're interested in deeper roots of sexual spirituality. We're going there now. So, a place of mutual desire, mutual play, and mutual feeling. It is an orgasmic place of pure connection without goal or agenda. The transpersonal connection. So this work emerged through 25 years of personal experience. So this entire thing, the book and everything, is not coming from books. I have been out there for almost 15 years, traveling around the world and collecting all the information for you and put that all in that book. So I hope you find your truth in here. So this work emerged through 25 years of personal experience, research, practice, and playing with concepts and ideas. I didn't just put them together as a story, but I lived them. So these spiritual teachings are transparent and accessible. So the concepts aren't new, but found in ancient tantric scripts about consciousness within the dynamics of Shiva and Shakti, who represents the union of immaterial consciousness and material nature, of Kali, who symbolize mastering the animal nature while maintaining enough power to stay in connection and presence. It's a philosophy with no limits or end. It's about being bliss, your true nature, although there is a deep understanding that everything is temporary aside from connected consciousness. It's about being fully embodied and grounded in your body while flowing with the daily tasks of life. It's not about ascending into disassociation and leaving the body, but being here now in the totality of each breath in each moment, even within suffering. So when you see life as an earth school, lovemaking becomes an incredible good because you team up together. There's no chance for sex or the relationship to become ego-based. It has to become a collaboration, otherwise it doesn't work. Just like tuning into a radio frequency, both need to be on the same wavelength to connection to happening. So let's want to see there is a spiritual bypassing. I think that's a longer chapter. I think I finished that today because I can, and I have not read yesterday, so it's a longer chapter. Be prepared. Spiritual bypassing, seeing beyond self-trickery. Spiritual bypassing is a tendency to use spiritual ideas and practices to sidestep or avoid facing unresolved emotional issues, psychological wounds, and unfinished developmental tasks. It's a quote from John Wheelwood. The state of transpersonal spiritual connection is often misunderstood. Many believe that to access this space, we only need to be positive, to laugh, care, and smile our way through life, and that this alone will give us an experience of oneness. This, however, can be termed spiritual bypassing. It avoids or bypasses the fact that we are in a human body, living a human experience with very human emotions, not being aware of how the mind works, as well as suppressing emotions rarely enhances our ability to grow and awaken. There's a map, spiritual bypassing. Here it is. I can't hardly see it. Sorry again. And I will post another video about the spiritual bypassing in the description and here in the video. So I based the spiritual bypassing map on my own experiences of illusion. Prior to discovering the direct route, I focused on the indirect route, where I pretended and performed for other people's pleasure and created mental arousal through fantasy that had nothing to do with what my body was actually experiencing. I was consumed by conditioned pretending and performing. I call this empty yang or artificial stimuli, and I overdosed on it. At the time, I believed I was spiritually aware, when in actual fact I was practicing spiritual bypassing based on my intellectual grasp of what I believed it was. All I had done was to create a type of artificial transcendence in my own mind. So my mind juggled the concept of what it meant to be spiritual, but was still judgmental. So whenever anyone around me pointed this out, I would respond in defense, always in fight mode if I got criticized or felt threatened. I would also, as part of my defense, make their personality wrong. I knew this was my ego desperately trying to defend itself when I got triggered and was hard on myself for that. I was a spiritual high flying like a kite sometimes and bypassing tons. So you need one to see one, right? All right. When I realized that the positive development of personal structure was based on connection achieved through feeling safe and tied to the function of the ventral vagus nerve and the social engagement system, I knew the only way to develop spirituality was to let my skin do the work. So when I tuned into my real-time experience of sensory input, I began to wake up. The more I activated the sensory inflow of pleasure, the more I experienced a softening, a relaxed presence, and embodied sensuality with genuine, tangible feeling of connection to myself, others, and the world around me in the moment. So this experience was like allowing love to slowly drop into a crack in the rock-solid state of my personality to create a new foundation from where I could feel and relate differently in a more expanded, natural way. It opened up a previously unknown place where I began to engage with others without an agenda, without focusing on a goal, without needing or wanting anything connected to any meaning I'd placed on it. It created a different level of depth on based on integrity, alignment, truth, connection, and being. So whenever I experience difficulties, I always go back to these roots based on touch, connection, and oxytocin, so that I'm able to tune into my genuine self at any given moment. Because of this connection within myself based on the inflow, I am no longer dependent on identification with my personality structure and its usual reactions to unconscious triggers. This new dimension of self allows shadows to come to the light, so that whenever I get triggered, I notice Oh yes, I feel really awkward when such and such happening, and I'm able to understand why. Specifically reading, because English is not my first language, I make mistakes. I feel between the lines sometimes really awkward, and I hope you can forgive me, because I imagine that must really suck for some people. But then you have the opportunity to get the book, download it, and read it yourself. So the massive potential to dig deeper into myself became fun. It became a playful game, like a sport, and I can now engage with my shadows with humor, lightheartedness, acceptance, and ease, and allow others around me to do the same. Here I experience real transformation and transcendence with maturity and depth. I don't have to fight against anything to protect my shadows anymore. I live in a broader truth and know my infinite nature. So the self has dewaters. By diving into what is real, we find transformation and infinite possibility to experience our spiritual identity. This becomes a lifestyle, a continuum of connection to God, divinity, your higher self, or however you prefer to call it. Not as a concept, belief, or religion, but as a pure experience of isness through your own somatic perception, interoception, and neuroception of being in the present moment. And this is how I dropped into the present moment of being, and there is no way back. And it's definitely fun and worth it. So when you are kissed by that one, you are ruined forever, is a quote from Rumi. So sharing this experience with a loved partner at an intimate and sexual level is the best thing in the world. You don't have to be in solitude if you can share it with someone who wants to share it with you. So you can grow together simultaneously. You can always be alone, but I find transformation can be limited that way. Human beings are pair bonders, and therefore, through physical connection and oxytocin-based intimacy, our transformation occurs within the very nature of our isness together. I think we all struggle to understand the other within relationship despite our best intentions. We all perceive so very differently without both partners fully embodied the direct route and practicing the engagement zones. Being at the apex together or in interpersonal level is difficult to achieve. So play the 3-minute game and use the direct route. So tuning into the direct route is the core. I've written it actually. Tuning into the direct route is the core practice, the cornerstone, and the holy grail of the entire somatic consent engagement system. By practicing it, you're clear that an action is based on getting a reaction from the other, but on your own experience of feeling. You can then go about getting permission from others to practice for yourself. Practicing with consent builds deep trust within the nervous system, which is necessary to experience surrender and the awakened state. So the apex and shadow, and that's really interesting. And I was just talking about that recently, that when we don't embody this entire structure beforehand and we just only going for love and light and the spiritual bypassing is in there, the shadows and the love and care goes hand in hand. So we don't know if we are pleasing or if we are caring, if we're not aware of our shadows, our base, and when and how to ask and say no when we're reaching a limit or a boundary. So a lot of, so there comes a quote first. Kindly let me help you, or you will drown, said the monkey, putting the fish safely up the tree. Again, I do it again. Kindly let me help you, or you will drown, said the monkey, putting the fish safely up the tree. It's a quote from Alan Watts. A lot of knowledge comes from learning and embodying the teachings of the somatic consent engagement systems. Any new learnings brings empowerment, and with that power comes the responsibility to use it wisely. Earlier in the book, we talked about giving from the apex without permission, and I'd like to expand on this subject a little more here. It's good to regularly check in with yourself as to whether when you believe you're at the apex, you are giving your gift of power from a place of love and care in order to support the transformation of others, or whether you're doing it for some kind of personal gain. And this scenario may transpire simply because it feels so good to give. It can also happen if we are invested in or convinced about a certain method, tool, or technique to the point where we force it upon others without their permission. In this case, ask yourself who the action is really for. Another possibility is being in love with the feeling of power over someone else, of course. In all these cases, you might be using your skills and knowledge to manipulate others in order to get more of what you want. The interpersonal space can coexist with active shadow strategies. One person might be in the interpersonal apex space with a full heart and see others struggling, even when you might sincerely care for them and want to provide an action for their benefit. The action provided could still be perceived by the other as an entirely different way than intended. Another little video for the man.
Welcome, gentlemen. You have mastered the art of pleasure, but you're not the type to settle for the ordinary, right? You're after the extraordinary. You're not just driving a car in life, you want the Tesla experience in every aspect, especially in your intimate relationships and your sexuality. So it's not about dissatisfaction, it's about exploring deeper. You know greatness, now you seek to be the best. More presence, more connection, not just reaching a goal, but transforming it. Perhaps you have heard about Tantra and feel intrigued by its promises, but what does it truly offer? Imagine not just giving your partner moments of pleasure, but leading them into an ecstatic state and keeping them there, an orgasmic state of being for both of you. I understand the subtleties that make good great. For over 20 years, I've guided men like you to deepen their understanding, to discover what lies beyond the climax. So to take private sessions with me that will put you right on target what you want to achieve, instead of wasting hundreds of hours in workshops and online courses, even though they can be fun and they are great. So if you are ready to explore these profound possibilities, I'm here to guide you. So let's redefine what pleasure can mean to you. So reach out for a free discovery call on this link here and let's embark on this journey to endless contentment. Your extraordinary is waiting. See you on the call.
Okay, welcome back. So, for all the men of the creation out there of a one-on-one sexual empowerment session, and we want to learn what sexual mastery means, feel free to reach out, book a free discovery call. I will post the link as well in the video description, so feel very invited. So what feels like one thing for one person can feel completely different to another, and so misunderstanding can occur. When we come from a sincere place of love and care at the apex, we want the best for the other, and this means we often want to give our gift of power of loving resonance in a desire to lift the other up. At times this might be really helpful. At other times, instead of providing support, it can take the power away from the other to figure out something essential for themselves in order for a person's transformation to happen. Have you ever been in a situation where you did something for another person because you cared, but in retrospective it was the worst thing you could have done for them at the time? It's also common to trigger others by well-intended action and instead re-traumatize them, so that they perceive our action as invasive, as a shadow within us. This often happens when the other has not asked for our help, or we haven't properly communicated an effort to help and give them a chance to refuse it. This unclarity is confusing to the receiver, who more often will go along with the situation, become resentful, and thereby place themselves in the role of the victim. So we all have the tendency to go along with things, allowing things to happen to us, because we have all learned throughout life that what happens is more important than how we feel about that, and therefore we just try to change how we feel than actually changing what is happening. Right. So when one person provides a gift and sincerely believes they are coming from an altruistic, generous place, and the other feels it's not needed but neglect to express their boundaries, the doer, so the person in action, is perceived by the other as a perpetrator. This perception of an action does not mean it's true. If someone is doing something to or for you from a place of love and care, and you place yourself in the role of the victim, you automatically put the other person in the place of no permission. So when the person is in one shadow, we tend to place the other in the opposite role. So this is the meaning that is given, whether the intention may be. We presume things which may not be true, and instead of rising together to the apex, a relationship can end up in the shadows with nobody have a clue how it got there. So I'm sure you will agree that we can get pretty mixed up if we aren't clear and honest with each other. Have you ever thought you knew that was best for a loved one and provided that thing for them, then realized that they didn't necessarily need or wanted that thing and were just allowing you to do it in order to please or not upset you by rejecting your gift? I think we all have done that, and that's pretty common. Have you ever pleased other by pretending you like the way they touched you so that you wouldn't disappointed them by rejecting their attempt to making you happy? Who do you think is receiving in these dynamics when both are giving? You guessed right, nobody. So intuition might be a blessing or a curse. The bottom line being that however intuitive we are, we never really know about another person's unless we ask. All you need to do is, whenever there could be a speck of doubt, is to check in and ask the other person, is that really what you need? Or ask yourself, is this within my limits? This opens space for permission, reflection, choice, and feedback. And if both people are in touch with their own experience through direct root activation, and if honest communication is practiced within the space in between, so the relationship, it's possible to come to a mutual agreement where no presumptions can be made and no ulterior motives to get needs met can exist. That was the end of chapter 3. Thank you so much for hanging in and joining if you made it so far. And I repeat that if you are interested in professional education, or you're a man or a woman and you would like to experience what I'm talking here and reading in that book, please feel free to reach out. The Calendly link for a free discovery call will be in the description. So please make use out of that. It's a gift. And please consider to like and subscribe so that you get a notification for the upcoming live streams that I'm planning. So if you would like to get a notification, that's the way. If you have any comments or questions or anything you would like to share, please write that in the comments below. I will personally answer and respond. You find as well a link to the hard copy and the paperback of the book on Amazon. Or if you would like to have it as an EPUB, as a PDF on your Kindle and share it with other people, you can get that as well on Amazon. Or you just go to the webpage on somaticconsent.com/orgasmic blueprint. There you can download the book and share it with as many people as you like. It's as well a gift. Thank you so much for joining so far. I hope you enjoy the reading. And I will start with chapter 4 maybe tomorrow. And that's all about intimate relating. This is where the stuff gets really juicy, how to implement that stuff we have been going through till here in your intimate relationships or in all relationships. So this is where the juice becomes really applicable in life and how you can make the best out of it, engaging with somebody you love or you want to love, or somebody you want to have clear agreements, maybe someone in your family or a colleague or a friend or whomever. Would love to see you on the next call here about intimate relating, chapter 4, reading number 1. See you there. Much love and love yourself. Bye.